Welcome to Real Geek Media. It is Friday, June 14th, 2024. I'm Hayden Stoll. He is Christopher Michael Blake. I believe we are in the midst of a train wreck. We are here tonight to review the Acolyte episode number 3, entitled Destiny. This episode was written by Jasmine Flournoy and Eileen Shim, directed by Kogonada. Aired on June 11th. Christopher, how are you doing tonight?
Hayden, I have to start off by issuing an apology to our fans and to the Star Wars universe and all the doubters out there. I came on here last week and so I really didn't see anything that was outrageously woke in the Star Wars Acolyte series through episodes 1 and 2. Well, it is my deepest condolences to say that I was wrong. This episode contained everything Star Wars fans have been rallying against, starting with the David Koreshi cronies who don't need men to procreate. And I don't know if they're trying to reenact Hocus Pocus in some of these scenes or some awful version of Cats, but I was ready to throw up in the corner a few times, and
Yeah, this was a tough one. Just to put it in summary, right? We get the story of, said 15, 16 years prior from where we were at in episode 2. We get the flashback to what happened on Brendok, which is the planet that Osha and May grew up on. Now, they're part of a coven of witches who practice using the Force, though they call it the thread, right? To them, that's what it is.
Now, what is the thread?
Thread is the Force.
Now, I was seeing articles that some of these people who wrote this had never watched Star Wars before.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if that's true or not, and that it was a breath of fresh air that they had done so.
Oh, boy.
Or not done so.
Basically, in this era of Star Wars, this is called the High Republic era, towards the end of the High Republic era, there is the Jedi. The Sith are not around. There are other groups that are attuned to the Force and use it. However, they don't practice the Jedi beliefs. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at in this. Now, this group uses the Force. They call it a different thing. And through this, they're able to conceive these twins. The Mother Anastasia creates them. Mother Coral carried them, as they state in the episode. Now, we've seen this before. This is nothing new to the series. We've seen this in episode 1, where Anakin's mother, talking with Qui-Gon, says something very similar. I conceived them. There was no father. I can't explain it. Okay, so now what you're telling us is Anakin wasn't the first one, right? We're going to say these twins, Osha and May, were the first two. Okay, so unless they find something down the road where they can kind of explain that either Darth Plagueis, if that's what they're working towards, uses this technique or discovers this technique from these witches somehow to use it in the future to have Anakin birthed. I don't know where they're going with this. To me, it makes, the whole Anakin thing a little less special when you've done it now 100 years prior. And you had twins, and they're essentially like the yin and the yang. One's evil, one's good. I don't know. It's a little bit, like I said, it's nothing new for the series, but what it does is it just waters down what comes later, in my opinion.
So, just an observation or two. Nothing crazy here. First off, typing in "oh shit" and May into Google. Did you know that that's actually a hair and scalp formula?
No, I didn't.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. That is for fact. If you go ahead and Google Ocean, go ahead and do it.
Oh, I believe
Ocean
you.
May. Just type in Ocean May. It comes up hair formula. So I believe that Disney owes Ocean May. Somebody has some stock, or maybe it's a creator. I was like, this is a great idea. We need to roll with this because it will apparently grow hair on top of my head.
Oh my goodness.
The second thing is did you notice the Rick James haircuts?
Yeah, I did. I don't really have too much.
In 16 years, these people don't change their hairstyle?
That is,
I don't know.
That is the issue I have with it, is they still have the identical look that they did as children.
Look, I just wish that Dave Chappelle would have came out and, gave him the Will Smith treatment at this point. Said, I'm Rick James, bitch. But, the dialogue for this whole thing is just nothing short of terrible. We were talking earlier this week, Hayden. This series for 8 episodes cost them $180 million. That's roughly $22 million an episode. And this might be the greatest heist of all time where this money went. And I'm sure it's into somebody's bank account because it certainly didn't reach mine.
Yeah.
There's nothing in any of these that screams production value.
No.
That needs to exceed 10. I mean,
it feels, every scene feels small, like it's on a small set. Nothing feels grand. The everything, even the costumes, I mean, nothing looks like it costs a lot of money in this. So I agree with you, and the thing that's kind of been going around on X lately is that the budget of Godzilla -1 was between 10 and 12 million for the whole movie. And this, how much was it for the full series? You said 180, 22 million per episode. So you can make 2 Godzilla -1s per episode. I mean, I'm not seeing, I don't know. And the writing is bad. And there was an example right off the bat for that in this episode for me, right? The girls are under the tree, or first we see Osha under the tree with that butterfly, and she holds it using the force, right? And lets it go. It starts to fly. Then here's May shows up. She holds it using the force. And the first thing out of Osha's mouth is, don't do that. But you just did it.
Well, I think she was going to try to smush it.
Maybe, but as the audience, we don't know that. The only thing that gives us that cue is the music, where it changes. But she's essentially doing the same thing you just did. And I'm like, what? It's just like in last week's. May is dead. A minute later, oh, it was May that did it. And Soul is like, I believe you. So it's the same kind of stuff we're seeing again here.
So I'm going to give you a deeper analysis into the script writing here. There's no rationale, no backstory as to why Osha wants to become a Jedi, why she wants to leave the planet, why she feels differently than her sister does. There's no backstory as to why May's the bad one or wants to stay as a witch, or she feels that her sister can't leave under any circumstances. Look, my brother or sister wants to leave. Do I go into their room and say, no, you're not going, I'm going to burn you in the room alive?
She says, I'm going to kill you.
I mean, look, I get that kids do things that they regret later on, and they overreact. But, again, there's just no backstory with it. Even the story with the two moms, and they're like, I had these children, and I put the thread in you, and I don't know. I'm just sitting there watching this like.
So yeah, it's definitely leaves a lot to be desired. So to continue, we get to the point where they're having, they're cautious because there's Jedi out in the woods, right?
I need to stop you again, Hayden. I'm sorry. apparently the Jedi 100 years ago, before Star Wars, were pedophiles who like spying on little kids in the woods.
Now, this
And enticing them into their white paneled starships with offers of training, you know, and I'm going to take pictures, you know, and let you see what you tell us. I don't know. Again, all they need is some candy, and you know, again, I'm sitting here watching this. I'm sitting here saying to myself, I mean, the parallels are you can trust these strangers. It's okay. And I'm sitting there. Again,
well, now
watching this.
This particular topic is it's nothing new for the series, right? It was there in the prequels. You know, the Jedi, they take kids at a young age, they test them, they become Jedi and train them, and you know, this series paints it as the creeper, though.
But this is the thing. Most of the time, if I'm not mistaken, the parents willingly give their kids over to be trained. I've seen the cartoon.
Right.
It's not like, hey, we're showing up at your planet and we want to test these kids. And by the way, you're a little too old for us. This is where it gets creepy again. You're a little older than we would like.
I think there's
you're over there laughing because you know no. Because Soul says it. You're a little older than we're used to training.
Right.
But that's okay.
But that's
get in the van. I mean, get in the starship.
That's okay. The same thing they said about Anakin, though. You know, he was 8 as well when he became, and that is old. You know, for their standards. Now, I think there's more of a deeper meaning in what you're bringing up, and no. And in what they're trying to show us in this show, what they're trying to show us is that these witches are using the Force to create these children, and the means in which they're using it is connected to the dark side. Okay. The Jedi, and they even say it in the episode, that by law, you know, they're not to be training children. Okay. So they've created these children through dark side means, and the Jedi have picked up on this and they're trying to intervene. That's what they're showing us. And there's Darth Michael Blake.
Master Darth Blake. Kids, do not go into the woods. Do not trust the Jedi. They will put you in their white van and you will never see your parents again.
So, moving on.
Look, Hayden, I mean this in the most... You sit here and say, okay, well, this is a deeper meaning and everything like that. Okay, I appreciate that. But it's just from my perspective that why are these parents who are these witches, if they did this once and they were successful, not having more kids? They make the comment, Osha and May at one point, we're the only kids here. And it's been 9 years. And they're Force sensitive. And if they're so successful, why don't they have a whole colony of these kids running around? You think that they're like you're going to withhold the gift of motherhood from these other parents? They're all Fred users. They're all out there doing the same creepy, stupid flash dance. Ready? The power of one. The power of two. The power of many. I'm right. I'm like, who wrote this? And how much did they charge them? Because I need to get on this money train.
Listen, I agree with you. The writing of this and the depiction of that scene is atrocious. Now, to your point that you said, why don't they have more of them? And I think it's meant to kind of imply that this is not something that was easily done. We've only seen it now 2 times in the entire Star Wars saga. We've seen it with Anakin and we've seen it with Osha and May. You know, I don't think it should have happened, you know, outside of Anakin, but that's my opinion, right? They brought it into this story for whatever reason. The reason that there's not more of them is because there's a great difficulty in this. Now, in Star Wars lore, Darth Sidious, the Emperor, was trying to attain this feat, creating life. All right, his master taught him, or mastered it before he killed him. This is not a feat that is so easily attained. That is part of the lore. Okay, whether they convey that to someone without that kind of background, did they do a good job? No, but for me watching it, I'm understanding that there's a reason why there's just the two of them, because they can't do it anymore. It's very hard to master such an ability, and I think that may play into further part of the story. If it doesn't, that I don't know, that would be just not a surprise.
It's okay for you to stop defending this series.
I'm not defending it. I'm not defending anything in it.
Okay.
I'm just giving you the basic understanding of the lore of this. I'm not defending it. I don't think it's good at all.
You're looking for the fastball right now. I'm going to throw you the curve. Okay? And you're going to whiff. Here you go. Here's the question to end all questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to the terrible script writing for this whole thing. Here comes the windup and the pitch. Why are the Jedi there in the first place?
Because they sensed these children.
So they sent 4 people in all these galaxies away because they sensed 2 children from 9 years ago? They couldn't send them out before now? What were they doing?
Well, I mean, they sensed them as a threat. They sense them as a threat. They're conceived through the dark side. That could be potential.
That's not said.
Well, how else did they come about? They asked them.
But I'm asking you what the Jedi are doing there. Why are they creeping in the woods in the first place?
Well, we haven't gotten that part of the story.
We're not going to get the story.
We're going to get the Rashomon part of this thing. We're going to get it from May's point of view because we didn't see what happened. So
Are you saying I had to go through another episode of this nonsense?
I would not be surprised if we got the May point of view in next episode or in the near future, because they left. When we're jumping ahead, but like when we get to the point where, May kind of corners Osha in her room, shuts the door, and then starts the fire, we don't see what happens. We only see Osha trying to escape the room. We don't see if May did it, if the Jedi did it, if the witches started it. We don't see any of that. And I suspect we're going to see that side of it either next episode or, in future weeks. That part we have to see.
Make it stop.
Listen, I'm not defending it. I'm giving you just the basic review of this thing. I'm not saying, hey, this is the best thing since sliced bread. It's not. It's terrible Star Wars. It really is. And
I just don't know why these Jedi... I mean, look, usually Jedi come in 2s, not 4s. I just... Again, they...
Listen, I imagine they're dispatched because of the reasons I had mentioned. We'll see. We haven't gotten there. We're going to find that out. But, they're not doing a great job of really kind of filling in the threads, so to speak. They're not doing a good job of it. Even for this episode, they could have simply set it up with some monologue from Osha trying to remember the events of that we watch in this episode. It just happens, right? From nobody's particular point of view until we only see Osha's. Okay. Like they could have set it up as like Osha's like remembering finally what occurred or what she remembers happened, but they don't even, bookend it in that fashion. It's just, here you go. And that's the inexperienced writing that you mentioned. It's just throw shit against the wall and let's see if it sticks.
The other problem I have with this whole thing, and it goes back to Luke Skywalker from episode 7. Is it 7? It's 8. Episode 8. Mark Hamill, his character, Luke Skywalker's running around scared the whole time. He's so scared he has to kill, Luke and Han's, Kylo Ren, He's so scared he's got to hide in the farthest corner of the galaxy he can find with his little books and and cower out from the sun like Gollum. He's not supposed to feel fear. I remember, look, the Emperor told him, fear leads to the dark side. Fear leads to hatred. He didn't learn that lesson. It's like, okay, I know you didn't have a Jedi Master. Now here come these 4 Jedi, right? Episodes 1 and 2. What do they feel? Oh, there's severe guilt about some event we haven't seen yet. I'll give them that. We haven't seen the event yet. We don't know what's going on. But the Jedi shouldn't feel fear. They should feel no emotion.
Right. I think I agree with you. It's a disconnect with the Disney understanding of this. They're portraying it in a way I don't think Lucas intended it to be. Why? Maybe they want to tear down the reputation of the Jedi to create some separate thing to make you think that maybe the Jedi are bad. You're not portraying them in the light that I think was intended. The Jedi are warrior monks. They're diplomats. They're not soldiers. They're
supposed to be the peacekeepers of the galaxy, if I remember that correctly.
Correct.
And since when does showing up and trying to steal people's kids? I don't want to say steal. That's maybe the wrong word.
It is.
It's the wrong word. That might be a little enticing them to leave their David Koresh compound, but the other Koreshians. I know that. So I guess basically what I'm saying is they're the ATF in this episode. They've arrived without a warrant. They break into these people's house during their ceremony, which is their religious right and their religious freedom. We believe you have 2 Force sensitives here who may be children. Well, what business is that of yours?
Well, they even say
you're not the police. You're not the police of the galaxy.
No, but they instruct that they're enforcing the law. They say that in the episode.
But again,
I think
the comeback to that was the witch said, "We are outside of your republic. We are not beholden to your law."
She says that. So, correct.
Why again? But they pressed the issue,
and I think the false pretense that they're there is related to the fact that this is the thread, and the manner of which they use the thread is teetering on the dark side to create these children. That is a dark side thing that is implied through the entire prequel trilogy. So this ritual that they did, or whatever they're doing here, the Jedi sense enough of a threat to intervene in it. And whatever false pretenses that they're showing, their method of maybe rectifying this is to bring these kids close to them so they can steer them away from whatever teachings that they may get down the road that could cause a future threat.
So I want to make sure I got this right, Hayden, for the sake of continuity, okay? 16 years ago, we ask your kid to get in the white panel van. We're going to train them as a Jedi. All you got to do is volunteer. Come on with us. You take the tests. Oh, you didn't quite pass. We're going to leave you out in the outer rim to make it yourself and be a salvager. Have a good time. I'm just making sure that that's correct. That's the Jedi way.
No, so
that is the Jedi way.
So you're talking about OSHA.
Yes.
Okay, she says she left. We do not know why she left. We haven't.
I thought she didn't pass the trial.
No, she says she left. I don't think they have gone into the detail as to why she left yet. I think that's more story to unfold.
Can they get there in 5 episodes?
I don't know. Like, we've spent a whole episode now, and I suspect we're going to get another full episode of the flashback, which is going to put us maybe episode 5 by the time we start moving the current day story forward, and we're done with the flashbacks. I don't know. It's, if you look at the overall plot of this show, it is just a whole bunch of nonsense. But what are we doing? I don't know. It's just, it doesn't feel Star Wars. It doesn't look Star Wars. Yeah, okay, there's Jedi, look lightsabers.
Where?
I mean, you got to light up the cave somewhere. You got to use a lightsaber to do that. I don't know, man. I had very low expectations of this show, and it's very much justified when I watch it. You know, I can understand what they may be attempting, but it's not good. It's not good. And for me, it waters down like the more significant events from the films, which should carry more weight than the show. And, you know, have you looked at the Rotten Tomato score as of yesterday?
I have.
It's down to...
I've also looked at the IMDb score of 6.4.
Rotten Tomatoes audience score is 17% and dropping.
The comeback from the people on X, because I did look at a little bit of this tonight, is that score was put out there before the first episode even aired, because people were so anti-Disney and anti the perceived message of woke. And the comeback from those people who responded to, you know, the defenders of Disney and defenders of the show was, we understand that it gets worse in terms of the amount of wokeness coming.
Oh,
and
good.
the big woke moment has not arrived yet.
Still not.
The Anakin Skywalker of this whole debacle is not here yet.
Oh, boy.
I'm still trying to figure out why the main witch is shoving her counterparts with the Force and asking them to defend themselves.
That scene made no sense as a lesson that they're trying to show the kids. Did that make any sense? I was like, what? I don't know. That was just bizarre. So let me ask you this. Of what we've seen so far, and we still have this Sith-trained person out there.
Qumar? Come here, thank you.
That's the
guy who runs the Quickie Deli. I understand. Yes.
Yes. Would you still go with him as the potential red herring or the potential actual Sith?
I think he's the actual Sith, and I'm still telling you why. He bested May, who's a trained assassin who's killed a Jedi at this point, in hand-to-hand combat, and seems to know the location of all these Jedi. Mm-hmm. He knows poisons. He seems to play the patsy real well.
Yes.
And Sith like to hide, like as Palpatine, he likes to hide in plain sight. So yeah, I have to kind of go with him still being it. I know you mentioned Plagueis. I said that last week. Yeah. Is it possible he's Plagueis? I don't know. I don't know enough about the lore like you do. I played a few Star Wars games. I can tell you that the lore that they have in those Star Wars games it's badass.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's pretty well done.
Yeah.
I mean, Darth Revan, I would love to see a show on him.
It makes you wonder, like, you're talking about Old Republic.
Yes.
That series, that would have made an awesome series. That would have made an awesome Revan, Malik. That series would have been tremendous, right? That would have been great. But unfortunately, they created this High Republic era as like a very big launch of their own thing. And it's some people like it. I can't be bothered. I really can't. It just was not for me. I read I didn't even finish the first book. I started reading it and I was like, nope, this is not for me. Now I agree. Qumar is definitely, for me, the leading candidate. But I do have a suspicion that there's more to it than just him. But we'll see. Or maybe we won't. I don't know. The way this series is going, you can hold up that train again. It's not promising. And just let me say this about, the director, because we talked about this briefly when we met up earlier in the week. Directed by Kogonada. Now, let me give you Kogonada's. He's a video essayist who he's not. He's directed 2 films and a couple episodes of 2 different television series, but he's a video essayist. It's essentially like a documentary. So you're getting now an exposure in a very main mainstream scale with Star Wars. Is this, would this been your choice to go this route with the director? And I'm not faulting him. He's not writing this stuff. I don't think it should be fully on him, as it should be on the writers and Leslie Headland as the showrunner.
So I can only tell you, for $22 million, there's no reason Jon Favreau's not in that room somewhere.
For $22 million, you're right, 100%.
I guarantee you the Mandalorian didn't have that much for their budget.
Yeah.
And look at all you got Baby Yoda running around, Mandalorian, you got the action figures. No one's buying these action figures for the show. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
There's no lore here. Maybe there's lore, but there's no...
It's not executed...
Nobody wants to see this. Nobody wants to see this.
They have not executed in a fashion to pique your interest or mine as a fan. It's just... there's nothing to be excited about. The story's not that interesting, and they're trying to do something different, but it's just not there. It's just not grabbing you. I don't know.
Hayden, we got some breaking news.
What's that?
The Sith Lord has been identified for episode 4. It's the big reveal, Hayden. It's
it's
Darth Master Blake.
Darth Master Blake.
Hayden, you may ask me some questions.
Darth Master Blake, what was your motivation to do this?
The Jedi had to be killed. They needed to be stopped. They were taking all the kids away.
Why would you reveal yourself in such a manner?
On this show? Because it was more than the $180 million they spent on the episodes.
Is greed not a path to the dark side?
You have to ask Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah, she's my attorney.
Do you foresee Disney as an apprentice in the near future?
Oh, Hayden, that's a good question. Being a Sith Lord, I could see many different timelines and many different outcomes for the future. And I can only tell you I see one direction for Disney, and that is when the shares reach probably $60 a share. And at that point, you will see the ouster of all these people on their heinies.
So, it's funny. I actually looked at the share price today, and it is below 100. And dropping.
Hayden, as above, so below.
You know what? Okay, here, let's talk about that. You mentioned that. These two girls, they have...
Ask me about it, Hayden. I am all-knowing.
You say the as above, so below. The two girls have a nursery rhyme that they share with each other in the episode. Do you recall it?
I remember catching the as above, so below reference in there, and I thought, these writers just lifted so many ideas from so many different places.
My goodness.
And the pilfering of stuff, and again, I don't know who wrote it. I don't know if AI wrote it. I really think that maybe they had some AI in there from the amount of stuff that was kind of lifted from other places. And from the storyline that was so generic and unoriginal. I really believe that AI had a major role in writing this.
Now, the writers, I think...
I hope I'm wrong with that. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe that I am.
I'm not too versed in the writers that did this episode. Jasmine Flournoy, Eileen Shim. I know they pulled some writers from Marvel's side for this. There might also be new writers cutting their teeth on Star Wars. Who knows? It does. If these people are experienced writers, that's...
You also have to ask...
A little scary.
Is it possible that the writer's strike played a part in this? Where they were rushing to get this out.
Yeah, that could be.
And they were in the middle of this writer's strike, and they were like, okay, this is... Hey, that guy who cleans the floors in the hallway? Get him in here real quick. That girl who works up as a secretary. Go get her down here too right now. And
Yeah.
the one who plays Elsa, get her in here real quick too. She has to know something about Star Wars canon. She's right across from the theme park. That's what I get the feeling. It's like, okay, get these people in the room. Come on, write me a script.
We need something. It's a tough spot to be in for Disney Star Wars because you just keep driving the nail in the coffin, right? The fans, your general fans are not really interested in it. Nobody's watching it. And I'd be curious when Nielsen catches up to see what this falls in the Nielsen ratings. People, I just don't think are into this. And, review bombing aside, like, we ran a poll on X and it came back with...
Go ahead, I need to hear these numbers.
Yeah, let me pull it up. It wasn't pretty, though.
Now make sure you read the question for the audience at home first. So
yes.
Don't.
Yes. Okay. So we asked our audience, did you like episode 3 of The Acolyte? The options were liked it and didn't like it. And 93% of responses were didn't like it. 7% liked it. That's pretty big gulf. We'll run this poll. We're going to continue to run this poll after every episode. And, we're going to see if it's finding its footing or if it's just falling deeper down the hole.
I hate to say this. I'm going to take a guess at here at Stab and say, okay, we have what 4.1 million people watched the first 2 episodes? Is that what the number was you told me?
Yeah, in that ballpark.
In the ballpark. Yeah. And again, that could have grown up to 5, so I'll give it 5.
But mind you, these are figures provided from Disney.
Right, okay.
With a grain of salt.
I have to think by episode 3 we're down to 2.5. Easily.
Yeah.
And then out of that 2.5, you have jamokes like us, and they're running around to give their 2 cents in the either trash Disney with their own agenda or to do funny shows or YouTube or whatever the fact may be. And again, if I like the show, I'll tell you. I like the show.
Sure. Listen, if it's good, we're going to tell you it's good.
So I would take that number and say 100,000 of those people are on there because they're some kind of benefit from watching this show. That they can come on and do memes or give their 2 cents on YouTube or whatever the case may be. A podcast of their own, Star Wars experts, etc. So I would say at least 100,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably lost more than half your audience at this point. And I hate to say that I don't see more than half of that coming back for the next one.
I think you're too far gone. You're like you can't win people back at this point. You're 3 episodes in an 8-episode series. We're at the halfway point. And what's going to be the major reveal? Are they going to do the reveal of May's side? It's too late.
I think the major reveal, and I'm just guessing here, is obviously, who the Jedi Sith Lord is. The 2 girls banding together now, finding common ground, because again, we've seen that with Kylo Ren,
right,
and
Rey.
and Rey, and them 2 fighting off the Sith Lord, and I don't think they'll probably come out victorious in some way.
Same stuff we've already seen.
That's what I'm trying to tell you is that I think that this has been AI'd to the point where AI took part of other stuff and put it together and said, this is what people like because this is what's being made. Now, and the storyline is not religion. I mean, it's not original in any which way.
No, there's things lifted from all over the place. And, Leslie Headland talked about this show prior, said it's like Kill Bill and Frozen, mashed together. And I'm like, the sisters and but like you said, none of that is original idea. You're taking this idea from this movie, and hey, let's put it in here together. There's nothing original about any of this.
Last I checked, Elsa and Anna weren't trying to go around killing people.
That's the Kill Bill part, right? But I don't know, man. Like for me, like the first thing that hit me was like you're ripping off Kill Bill in the first episode. The dialogue is ripped right out of it. They're trying to do the opening scene of Kill Bill,
I would have said The Matrix. The Matrix, because Carrie Ann Moss is in there. The fight
fighting,
scene, the coordination,
yes.
the fact that she's basically running up thin air.
Well, but listen, that specific thing you just pointed out was lifted directly from Kill Bill in the showdown at the House of Blue Leaves. Uma Thurman's character does that exact same move. Even the choreography for the fight scenes is lifted from these other movies, and there's nothing original. It's just like, that looked cool. Let me put it in my Star Wars show, and then I'm going to push the message. I don't know.
I think the question somebody needs to ask: how much of this was written by AI or influenced by AI? And I think we might be surprised at that answer. And shame on social media for maybe not picking that up. Maybe I'm the first who's actually objectively thinking about that. I just find it hard to believe that the people who wrote this stuff were that terrible at it. I hate to say this. If I could sit at home and collect a $300,000 paycheck for hitting a button, would I do that? Judge Judy is on today. I don't know.
It begs the question because it is terrible. It's terrible. Like, even if somebody was, okay, I'm going to get a writing credit for this. I'm going to really put some effort into this and try this, cut my teeth on this, get a writing credit, and make it something where somebody may want to hire me again down the road. Not what we're watching. Because it's just not there, man. And let me give you another example of another scene lifted directly from another movie. I think it was the second episode, may have been the first, when they're on the snow planet after OSHA crashes and Soul meets them there, and she's running away, and she gets to the edge of that cliff, and it's the fugitive.
Yes.
It's just another scene lifted from another movie. Like, this whole series is just a series of things we've already seen in other films, just jumbled together. Like, there's nothing original. Not a thing. And, we've already, like, how many times is, like, the Rashomon stuff been done in cinema and TV? We're going to get your point of view, and next week we're going to see your point of view, and then we're going to realize, oh my God, we were wrong about you, and you're a son of a bitch. It's going to happen. We're going to get May's point of view, and we're going to see that. I mean, that's an Akira Kurosawa movie, Rashomon. Like, what? There's not everything done in this series is just like rehash.
Hayden, I need to pitch you a show. And the show is that there's these two twins. One's good, one's bad. And they're going to kill Jedi. One's going to kill Jedi, and the other one's blamed. And they're long-lost sisters, and they're part of a coven of witches. And I mean, how do you walk into Disney and sell this?
I don't know.
I mean, what's the aspect that made somebody who greenlit this show say, this is the one we should go with over the other 3 or 4 projects we're currently working with?
I have,
and I'm not saying the woke stuff. I'm not saying that stuff.
Take all that out, you're talking the basic premise of this show, what it's supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah.
What I mean, because we already have a bounty hunter show. Okay, so we can't do that. We already have the Jedi with Obi-Wan. Okay, we can't do that. Let's give them, because fans are clamoring for 100 years ago, or for a long time ago. We'll give them an older series, and we'll see how this plays out. So we're going to take all these older series, and we're going to see what people come up with and sell to us. Because somebody had to sit there and say, this is a wonderful idea.
Mm-hmm.
Let's roll with this. And I'm trying to figure out what was the sticking point that made them think this is a wonderful idea.
It's a great question.
Where's the payoff?
It's a great question. I can't answer that. I don't know. It's a very good question, though, because I could sit here as a fan who's in my younger years, wrote Star Wars fan fiction. Okay, I could come up with, and I'm sure you could, or if you ask any Star Wars fan to come up with something, that they would even tell you, listen, we had stuff. It's called Legends now, but it was canon when George was there before he sold it to Disney. All the novels and all the, things that were endorsed by Star Wars back then. Okay, you had stories. You could have picked a million things from those. Fans would have been like, oh my God, this is going to be awesome. They discarded all that so Disney could create their own canon, right? Those old ones are called Legends now and are just not really, canon stories. So Disney creates theirs, and there is not one series that Disney's created that you can draw upon and say, that would make a good series or a good movie.
I'm going to disagree with you one tiny bit. I stopped collecting comics a couple years ago, but I was collecting the Star Wars and the Darth Vader series from Marvel.
Right.
And some of those comic books, they got some decent stuff in there that I think would have drawn really well.
Now, yes, I've heard good things about that Darth Vader series.
I think there was a video on Instagram the other day where it gave an update. They had assassin droids coming after Darth Vader, and this one was supposed to be the best of the best, and it was hunting him down, but it still wasn't enough to beat Darth Vader. That would have been a great 3-episode
miniseries. Yeah,
and you don't have to go 8 episodes or 6 episodes.
And
you put it all on at once, and
you could make that so cheap.
Hayden Christensen would have come back because he needs
right.
work. I mean, because basically he's not doing anything else,
right?
Other than some conventions. So I mean, look, he would have come back for sure. You would have got that publicity back up. Everybody would have loved to see Darth Vader actually being the bad guy. So I mean, again, I just look at the canon and I sit here and say to myself, without trying to drag this out too long, for tonight, but I just feel like that they could have gone a different way.
For the amount of money they're spending, yes. They could have made multiple series or a movie about something somebody's interested in, but this is not it. And, stay tuned. We'll see what happens next week. Star Wars is that serial, based upon like those serials, the cliffhangers, this episode, we're going to, none of this feels like adventure. It feels like a chore to get through. I'm not excited about episode 4.
So let me ask you a question, because you brought up an excellent point. Episode 2 left us with a little mini cliffhanger.
Right.
They're coming for the Wookiee. And the Jedi are being told not to go. We need to go here. Where is the cliffhanger for episode 3? That's saying, I have to see what's going to happen in episode 4.
Yeah, there's nothing. Unless you're so invested that you want to find out what happened. The mystery has hooked you. And I don't think they've done enough to get people there. So I agree. There isn't one. Why would you continue the series if you're not going to review it like us or other YouTubers or other podcasters? I mean, there's people that are fans. I'm not going to discount that. But there's also fans that like any piece of content that floats across their face. I'm not one of them. I love Star Wars, but I'm going to tell you what's good and what's not, in my opinion. Every piece of content doesn't mean all content is good. I don't know. We'll find out next episode. Episode 4 airs next Tuesday, I believe.
Yes.
June 18th. So we will be back with the review of that after we both watch the episode. We'll keep you guys posted.
Make it stop.
We hit the halfway point of this series next week. If you guys like what you saw here, come on back for episode 4. Leave us a comment. Leave us a like. Let us know what you think about this series. We'll talk about it next week. All right. Until then, may the Force be with you. Darth Michael Blake. Hayden Stoll. We'll see you next time.